Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share with you how I instantly manifest when it doesn't appear like I'm instantly manifesting, and how, when you're manifesting within your manifesting within your manifesting. It's like manifesting inception. And this is where you, as the conscious chooser, you, as the representation of the conscious mind, makes the choice. And then your higher self, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, your inner me, populates immediately your 3D reality, even though when you look at it, it looks exactly the same prior to you making the choice. How 3D circumstances really truly don't matter, and how you will be pulled or inspired every step of the way so that you don't have to know all of it. All you have to do as the conscious chooser is become more and more aware in the now moment that you know what you chose. You're always in your wish fulfilled. There is going to be space and time between you, your choosing, and the unfolding, even if it's a couple seconds, and that anything can shift to full-blown manifestation at any given moment. So when you are in that energy, that if you decide, because sometimes you will decide that there's a time frame, and I'm going to share my story where I decided a time frame for a big manifestation, which was 7 months and 1 week. And during the course of that 7 months and 1 week, other choices were made. So there was other manifestations within the manifestation that I had no idea when I made the first choice would happen. I mean, it kind of logically looks like it would happen naturally anyway, but I could have said no to those choices. And as it unfolded, because what I was doing every day, I was giving myself certain things that I chose ahead of time that I would do every day to keep me in the mindset of not the version that chose, but of the version of me that already had it, that it was already done. Even though if you would have looked at me in 3D reality, you would have said no. If you would have seen what I was doing, you probably would have told me that I couldn't have done it within the time frame that I did it. But what was really important to me when I made the choice was, since there was no proof that it could happen in the time frame that I chose, but there was also no proof that it would happen in any other time frame, longer or shorter, it really became very clear to me it's because what I've chosen. And because I had foundational assumptions already in play within myself, which I share here on the channel. And it's one of my biggest joys to help you activate, align, and anchor your foundational assumptions within your consciousness. Join us November 16th and 17th for our 2-day masterclass on how to create powerful foundational assumptions so that you can manifest with ease. Link is in the description box below. Because you are not a body. You are not a person. You are a consciousness that jumps from body to body that looks like you. And it happens so quickly that it looks like the body's moving, but really it's the consciousness that is aware that the body is moving. Consciousness is always aware, even if you as the character go unconscious or subconscious in the moment, like when you're driving, right? You're not consciously aware of all the things you're doing because you automatically know how to do them. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dede Powerniak. I am the Invincible CEO, and I'm here to show you that manifestation is simple, easy, and fun. I help you make clear, concise choices in the now moment and anchor in foundational assumptions for your manifestations so that as you move through time and space, whether you give yourself a time frame or one is already given to you, and I know the most confusing one is when there isn't an established time frame for what it is that you've chosen, right? So that's where you choose for yourself, and how you can eliminate fear, doubt, wobble, because you know in any given moment who you are and which version of you is moving through time and space. Because the version of you that has whatever it is that the initial version of you was asking for would not be asking questions of the version that initially asked for it or those along the way. So when I have made a choice and I start moving through inspired action, there comes a time where there's really nothing left to do So I know I've taken the character as far as I can in that moment, and that when the next phase is ready for me to move into it, it'll make itself known to me. That's where that level of trust comes in. So I want to give you now my example. And I've shared this on the channel in several videos before, but I'm going to share it again in a different way. So back in 2008, at the end of 2008, I was very unhappy about how I physically looked. I was about 80 pounds overweight, and I'll share the pictures up here on the screen again. And I had tried 5 other times to lose the weight where I would lose 20 or 30 pounds. Then something would happen. Somebody would come to me, need my help, Dede to the rescue. I would think that I could do both. And for a little bit I could, but eventually my helping other people would always supersede me helping myself at that time. And I realized that pattern, and I shared the video on how to close loops, and I shared all that. So I'm not going to go into that here. I will find those videos and put them in the description box below, how to close the loop. But what I want to talk about today is how, when you make a choice, how even before you make the choice, because you're going to see this in the sub choices that I made as I went along, that I wanted to lose the weight, because even though if I looked in the mirror, I saw a Dede that was 80 pounds overweight, inside I knew I was an athlete, because I had been an athlete. I had played basketball, I had played softball, I played soccer, I did gymnastics, I worked out in the gym, right? Not to the point like I do now, but I had some ideas of what would be required of me. And I knew as a mom of five that I still had to go and do all my mom duties. I had an in-home business at the time. All that stuff I still had to do. So now I'm adding something extra onto me. And that goes to one of my foundational assumptions, that if I'm going to add something into my reality that's not here, it must serve me and it must add on to me. It can't take away. So I now had to figure out in my already busy day how I was going to exercise. And I had to break it down to twice a day, where one session was cardio and the other one was weight training. And now to this day, you can see once you set into motion what it is and you build foundation, you can't backslide. So let me give you an example that I know, an analogy I know that you may have done, or you know someone who did. Have you known someone who lost weight? And sometimes it's because they want to get into a certain outfit, like a wedding dress, or they want to go to a reunion, or the summertime's coming, right? There's always some reason to lose the weight. So it's almost like you're putting out a fire for a reality. I'm not where I want to be. I can do this thing to get there, but here's this special reason why. And so let's say you lose the weight to go for your wedding, or you're in the wedding, or you have a reunion to go to, and you lose the weight, right? You give yourself the time, the means shows up, and then you go to the event. So now the loop is closed in your mind. And since you haven't anchored it in as the new default you, the old version of you comes back in, and you start to gain the weight again, and you go back to where you were. And it happens so subtly. This is why when, very rarely can it happen that you gain 20, 30 pounds overnight. Yeah, you can. If you have some type of thing happen within your body, right? But rarely does that happen. It's usually the slow process over time and space where the weight is being gained, that you may not even realize it at first, but you may start to notice it when your clothes get a little tighter. And that's why when I take people on personalized 3-month nutrition programs, we're not just losing the weight. I'm teaching you how to anchor in the awareness and the foundation, so that if you ever did gain weight again, this is so anchored in that you could go right back to it and the weight will come right off. And this is why, as a bodybuilder, we deliberately will do a bulk and we will put on 10, 20, 30 pounds to gain muscle, because we know we can take it off so very, very quickly once we apply the formula, because the foundation is set. And as a woman to I remember in the beginning to like deliberately go and put on 20 pounds was like so mind-blowing to me after I had lost the 80 pounds, but now it's no big deal. And it really wasn't back then, but it was because my consciousness was trying to understand the whole process. So if you don't have foundation, you can get results. You just won't be able to hold on to them. So what we've just said about weight, we can say about money, we can say about relationships. If you're doing it for just that little hit, right? That's why when I teach people how to manifest money, we're not putting out a fire, we're not paying a bill, we're just bringing the money in. But once the money comes in, then we anchor it as this is our normal routine. This is how, I make $1,000 a day. I make $5,000 a day. At the time, it was actually the end of December. It was December 29th, 2008. I made the choice. And I said that by my 40th birthday, August 8th, 2009, that I was going to be 80 pounds lighter. And nothing and no one was going to stop me. And I had foundation where I knew how to exercise. I had a treadmill at home. I had a Bowflex and I had some free weights. And at that time, I couldn't join a gym because I didn't have any time. So I knew that I was going to have to work out at home and I was going to have to do cardio. And of course, when I'm starting, it's December, it's PA, it's cold. We get a lot of snow. So I realized that the majority of this is going to happen inside my house. So now I have to wake up an hour early to get my cardio in, right? And my goal was, I didn't know where to start. So I started somewhere. I said 5K a day. I can do 3.1 miles on the treadmill, not a problem. And I think the very first time I did it was over 58 minutes long, right? Because I was slow, but I did it. And my goal every day was to be 1 second faster, minimum of 1 second faster. So by like 7 months in, I think I was running a 28 minute 5K. From 58 minutes, it took 30 minutes off in 7 months. But that wasn't even a goal. The goal was just that way I can say to myself, every time I stepped off that treadmill, I'm moving forward, right? So I put into my formula something that when my mind would come in and say, you're not moving forward, I could say, yeah, but I deliberately today went a second faster than I did before. So I'm moving forward. And I made sure that I took many different types of measurements of how fast I could do a mile. I did all the different measurements of my neck, my shoulder, my chest, my waist, my hips, so many different measurements on my body that once a week I would go and do the measurements so I could see that there was progress forward, in addition to the scale, because the scale doesn't give you the total accuracy because you don't know if you're retaining water. You can get on the scale 5 different times during the day and you're going to have 5 different scale measurements, right? So you could be gaining weight on the scale, but you put on muscle and simultaneously took off fat. So you don't know, but when you use the measurements along with the scale and you do it once a week, the measurements always move. They always go in the direction that you want them to go. I've never in all my years, and I'm going to use that word never, had myself or a client that did not move forward in losing inches. And it may not always be inches, especially when you're getting ready for stage. It could be like centimeters that you're taking off, but nonetheless, just like that 1 second faster. So I'm setting up the foundation of how I'm going to succeed. I knew how to do basic type of movements. I knew how to do chest press with dumbbells. Like I said, I had the Bowflex. But like most equipment in people's houses, it just collected dust and we hung things on it, right? So I was dusting it off. I had 2 cul-de-sacs in my neighborhood that I measured, and once around both of the 2 cul-de-sacs was half a mile. So I knew how many times I had to go around if I wanted to do a 5K. And there was a trail, and once a week I would get to the trail, usually on the weekend, to do a longer run. Now I'm doing a 5K a day, and things are starting to move, right? Because I also changed how I ate, but I didn't have a trainer. I didn't have a nutritionist. I had to figure it out on my own. And I didn't want to join a program of any type. I just wanted to figure it out on my own, to be aware of how I feel, how's my energy, how am I waking up in the morning, right? These are all the things that I measure when I work with my clients now and we do nutrition together. So as this is going on, I shared the story about coaching my daughter's basketball team. And it was January of 2009 is when we started doing the coaching, because the season went through, I think, until March. So as I was coaching her team, each week, the parents also saw me coming in and getting smaller and smaller. So they didn't say anything initially, but they did come in and start saying things. And by then, I had, really been doing the 5K every day, 7 days a week, changed my eating, did my working out. And one of the moms came to me, and our daughters were really good friends. And she's like, "Hey, I'm doing the Broad Street Run. It's a 10 miler in Philly. You should think about doing it." And at that point, I was doing 3.1 miles, and 10 miles seemed to be so like crazy. And actually, I think this was more towards March that she came to me and said this as we were getting close to the end of the season. It's always the first Sunday in May, or at least it was back then. So I said to her, okay, I'll take it in consideration, right? Because that's 7 miles more than what I'm already doing. It was like mind blowing to me in 2 months. Like, who does that? And so I'm like, okay. So I say to myself, right? Because I have my goal and I know that adding this on will really challenge me. It'll take me out of my comfort zone. And I'm like, my mind's already going boop, 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 calculating all the calories burned of getting up to 10 miles, right? So this is intriguing to me. I never saw myself as a runner. I knew how to run. I knew how to run on a treadmill. I knew how to run playing basketball, playing soccer. If I needed to run away from somebody, I knew how to do that. If someone saw me doing that movement, they would say, "Oh, she's running." But to actually do it for 10 miles in a row was mind-blowing to me at the time. And but I said to her, "You know what?" I said, I'll take it under consideration. So I said to myself, if I if someone else says this to me, two other people say this to me that don't know that we just had this conversation, then I gave it about a week. If two more people mentioned it to me that I would do it, that would be my sign, right? So I signed a sign ahead of time, knowing, but here's the thing, my subconscious already knew I was running that race. And I kind of felt like that was it. But if you would have asked me at that moment, I would have said to you, no, 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 that wasn't it. The next day, someone else, I can't remember the situation, and it was more like, "Oh, you're running. Are you going to run Broad Street?" Not that I should, but am I going? But they mentioned Broad Street again. I was like, "Oh, but there's two, very short." And then the third one came at the kid's school. Someone else just assumed that I was running it, and it was just like, all right. So that's when that day I signed up for it. I signed up for it, and then I knew, okay, well, just doing a 5K a day, I have to start going longer. So when I would go to the trail, I decided that what I was going to do, I wasn't going to join a program because of people were saying, here's this running program, here's this running program. I didn't have the bandwidth for that. But what I could do is, in what I'm already doing, when I go to the trail, that'll be my long run each week, and I'll just add a mile. And as long as I don't stop, right? That was my mindset. I'm going to run the extra mile and I'm not going to stop. And then I'll get to 10 miles, because the goal was to get to 10 miles before I actually run the official race, so that I can be confident that I can do this. But all the while, the weight's coming off. So in knowing that I had this goal of 7 months in 1 week that I was going to lose the 80 pounds, not knowing all the other opportunities that were going to be offered to me along the way. And when they came in, they had to match my foundational assumptions. It had to add on to me. It had to move me towards my goal. It had to challenge me, probably scare the heck out of me, because it was going to be so uncomfortable. And it was really interesting because I felt like me, as the conscious chooser, was along for the ride. All I had to do was mimic my subconscious mind and say yes in the now moment. So even though I didn't have a time frame that was given, like everybody knew, if you want to lose 80 pounds, you do it in 7 months in 1 week. I'm the one who came up with that, right? Because I thought, what a great birthday present that would be for myself. And there was a little thought in there that even if I hadn't hit my goal, I would be so on the way to it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I'll tell you, heads up, I did hit my goal on my 40th birthday, because you will give yourself the time. And when you commit, when you choose and you don't wobble along the way, and it's not like I broke down every week how much weight I would have to lose to get there on time. There were challenges along the way, time challenges, physical challenges. I didn't think about all of that stuff. My goal was to be so present in what I'm eating, in how I'm moving, in what thoughts and echoes were coming in along the way. And to know that I chose, that it was a done deal, that it could not happen. It was happening. And because I was keeping progress in myself, not just the measurements, not just the scale, but I could say that I was a cooperative opponent, that every single day I got on that treadmill, that I went a second faster. Sometimes it was 10 seconds faster, but whatever it was the next day, it had to be a second faster, right? I could say that I know without a doubt that there is movement no matter what my mind said, no matter what the scale said, no matter what anyone else said. And I will tell you that when I shared my goal with people that I was going to do it in 7 months in 1 week, some of the reactions I had both on both sides of the coin. People are like, if anyone can do it, you can. I'm cheering you on. Go get it, go do it, and then, teach me what you've done because I could use that help. And then there were other people on the other side of the coin saying, you can't do it healthy in that short amount of time frame. I know someone who lost that weight and they needed a year and a half. You're going to at least need a year to do all of that. Like, and it's like, okay, it's just echoes. It's just echoes. And each one of those echoes is a reality. The one that says you need to do it in a year and a half, in that reality, it takes a year and a half. The one that says you're going to need at least a year, in that reality, you're going to need at least a year. The one that says if anyone can do it, it's you, then that's I'm going to anchor into that one, right? And these were the things that I really paid attention to, because the people that were saying that it was going to take a year and a half, they in their way, they were cheering me on. They just didn't want me to be disappointed. They just didn't want me to set goals that couldn't be done, because in their reality, they didn't know anyone yet. And I would say to them, well, after I do it, you won't be able to say that anymore. So the next time someone has this much weight to lose, you can say, well, my friend Dede did it in 7 months in 1 week. Like, because that's all that's ever happening out there. But I knew, in addition to losing the weight in that time frame, that once it was gone, I didn't ever want to be 80 pounds overweight again. Like, so when I launched that, when I began that, I loved on me, that version that was in the mirror, 80 pounds overweight. And to this day, I'm so thankful for her, because she had to be so brave to make the choice and to take this first steps moving forward into that choice. And it was unknown. We had chosen the 40th birthday, but could I give you proof in that moment? No. Could I tell you that it was definitely going to happen? I can tell you that because I was still convincing myself of it, right? So that's okay, even in the beginning. But once you take that first step, and that's the thing that I promise, this is another assumption that I have, that once I make the choice, and my subconscious has already populated. My subconscious had already populated Broad Street when I made the choice in December. That Broad Street wasn't even a thought in my mind. I knew about it, but it's not like I thought about that it was going to be part of the plan, because I didn't make a big plan other than I can only do where I am right now in the now moment. And that's the most important thing, is what's right in front of me right now. And I want you to really understand that when I chose to lose the 80 pounds, it was instant manifestation, because I chose, and the subconscious mind already implemented the program of that. I, as the conscious awareness moving the body, could only do and be aware of what she was in that moment, knowing it was done, knowing the wish was fulfilled. I've given myself a time frame. Sometimes, again, the time frame is given to you. And if you work with me, I say, give me 3 months and you'll have a whole new life, a whole new life. Just imagine 3 months from now, you could be in a whole different body. You could have a whole different bank account or net worth. You could have a whole different relationship with your significant person. Well, why do you need 3 months, Dede, if it's instant? Because the answer, instant yes, is there, but you don't see it yet, and neither does the majority of your reality. But you have to hold that. And when I put up the picture again of myself and you see the after, that's what I saw the whole time. Because when I would close my eyes and I would see myself looking like her. It was dress rehearsal. Imaginal acts are dress rehearsal for the actual show. And if you've ever been on stage, whether you were in a play, I used to do a lot of dinner theater back in the day. Every time you go to rehearsal and you're rehearsing the songs and you're rehearsing your lines, and then right before the big night, you actually start rehearsing with the clothes and with all the props and moving around and making sure you have all your marks on stage of where you need to be when you say what line and how you're going to do it. All of that, months and months of preparation. And maybe when the play goes off, you have maybe 3, 4, 5 times where you actually deliver the play, and then it's done, unless you're on Broadway and you do it over and over and over and over again. So for me, when my birthday came, that was the day of reckoning, right? That was the day. But I was already in that body back on December 29th, 2008. When August 8th, 2009 came along, I had been so much in that body that it finally caught up to what I had inside decided. And it happened within the time frame that I said that it would, because as the conscious version of me each day, I knew every time I ate, every time I moved, every time I slept, every time I tried on clothes, all of it was the unfolding of what I had chosen. I didn't have to ask, am I running right? Am I lifting right? Because as even now I go into the gym, there are days where I leave the gym and I'm like, oh, I really killed it. And there's other days where it's just I leave the gym. But it doesn't matter that I'm aware one day that I killed it and the other day it was just another day at the gym, because it all is part of the unfolding. And that's okay. And that's why I want you to give yourself a break. But the most important thing on all of this is that I have foundational assumptions. I'm the star of my show. Everything is here to conspire with me once I make my choice. I don't have to know how it's all going to play out. All I have to do is be aware in the now moment of which version am I. And in the beginning, when I was changing my eating, prior to that, I used to drink 6 cans of Coke a day, every day. 6 cans, not Diet Coke, regular Coke. Like, and I went cold turkey on that. And when I was offered some soda, I would always turn it down. I knew it wasn't going to be forever in my life, but during that time, I had to ask myself, who do I want to be? And I could feel sometimes when something was offered to me that I did get a free meal every week, that I could eat whatever my heart desired. And if I wanted to have Coke, I could have it then. If I wanted to have cookies, I could have it then, right? I incorporate that in my nutrition plan for my clients. You get a free meal. And when the time would come, if someone offered me something and it wasn't the time, it wasn't the designated time for the free meal, I had to ask myself in that moment, who am I? Who am I? Which version do I want to be? And that was only at the beginning of it, because the wish fulfilled version of me would say no, but the other versions of me would say yes. And it became more and more aware that when I was that aware in the now moment, those type of offerings didn't come. Those type of offerings would only start to come if I was kind of going a little more and more unconscious. And rightfully so, because as we get used to the new modality, I always say, give me 3 months for a new normal. When you're going back into autopilot with your new normal, there's still some activated autopilot from the old normal. And that's where you, as the conscious chooser, have to be aware. Was there times, I've shared this on the channel, where I ate a cookie and I didn't realize I ate a cookie? Absolutely. I couldn't uneat the cookie, right? You can't unring the bell. What happened just happened. But what the most important thing is what story am I putting on it at that moment? And it wasn't a big deal. Because there's no way that I wasn't getting my outcome. And sometimes slipping up and unconsciously eating a cookie was just as much part of the done deal as the getting up early and doing the cardio and adding an extra mile each week. All of that is part of it. That's why 3D circumstances don't matter. And could I eat nothing but cookies the whole time and get my result? There is a reality where that exists, but I wasn't aligned to it. So that's why in the now moment, I wouldn't choose that reality. But now I have now, and that was 2009 and we're in 2024, I can eat whatever I want because my food no longer has calories. And that was something over the course of time and space I've anchored in, that how I look has nothing to do with food. Just like my health, I don't eat to be healthy. I don't exercise to be, I'm just healthy. So when I tell my body and I anchored in a default to go back to that weight, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. And the muscles always stay. You got to know how you want to look. You got to know how you want to feel. You got to know that the manifestation is instant because your subconscious automatically opens up the reality for you. And it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you haven't chosen differently. And that's why your energetic foundational assumptions are so powerful that once you anchor them in and you know what they are, you allow yourself the grace and space over time and space for the unfolding, because it's instant. Doesn't mean you'll actually see it, but it's instant in the energetic realm. It's instant in the mental realm. And the more that you stay in that choice, that every time I went to the bathroom, every time I went to sleep, every time I picked up the kids from school, it's all part of the unfolding because I got to do them anyway. And it doesn't mean that I've come out of it. You're always in it. So how I instantly manifest: when there's a time frame, there's a time crunch, regardless if there's an allotted time already designated, the moment that I ask, it's the subconscious says yes, and it activates the program. All I have to do to see the shortest amount of time from when I ask to the unfolding is to know that I never come out of my asking, that I have not contradicted, because I have these foundational assumptions set that I can't get it wrong. I can't get it wrong. It doesn't matter how everyone else does it. How I do it is how I do it. And what I'm seeing doesn't mean everybody else will see. But when I go into the dress rehearsal, when I go in and close my eyes and I do my imaginal act and I'm doing the dress rehearsal of it, I know that when I cross the finish line of a race, it's only a matter of seconds that I cross the finish line. When I'm doing a show on stage or I'm giving a talk somewhere, the talk is as long as the talk is, and then it's done. This video is as long as the video is, and then it's done. You can't get it wrong. And the time frames stop mattering when you know in any given now moment who you are, which version of you you're playing out. So it doesn't matter the what, it matters the who, and the who is you. I love that Loki show on Disney. When you realize, tag you're it, it's always been you. Which version are you? And even if you stepped outside of the original version, even if, let's say, there was a week during that time where I totally went off my nutrition plan, I can get right back on and say that I was the version in that now moment that never went off the plan. Instant revision. So give yourself a break. And I would love for you to join us on November 16th and 17th. I'm having a 2-day foundational assumption event. If you want to be able to make changes in your life that stick beyond a certain outcome, beyond the wedding, beyond the reunion, beyond the money coming in and paying off the bill, if you want it to be your new normal, that's where you want to be. You want to be in that 2-day 2-day event. It is going to be the most powerful thing that you do for yourself in your manifestation journey. Can you get manifestations? They're hit or miss. Yes. But why would you do that anymore? Right? If you're going to change your physical body, why do something that the moment that you stop doing it, you're going to go back to the old you? When you're doing this process of transformation, you have to activate, align, and anchor it in so that your subconscious knows now it's part of the template. It's part of the default until you direct otherwise. That's why you wake up in the room that you wake up every morning, because you haven't given your subconscious a new room for you to wake up in. But you could go on vacation and instantly say to your subconscious, for the next week, I'm going to be waking up here. Here's the transaction. And your subconscious is already impressed that you don't wake up the next morning back in your bed at home, because it knows. So it doesn't take a lot. The only person you're ever convincing is you. This whole channel is designed for you to win big, to win all the time. And what I really love about working with you, and we have digital do-it-yourself courses, one-off sessions, group programs, and one-on-one personally designed programs just for you. It's so powerful to see how 3 months can change your life. If you need a time frame, here it is, 3 months, right? We're in the end of October. So we're looking by the end of January. Let's even just say by the beginning of February. You could be living a totally different life that you don't ever have to worry about backsliding into the old one. And I would love to be part of your journey. So if this is something that you're interested in, you can always reach out to me. We can have an introductory call together and see if we are a good fit. And I can help you live the life of your dreams. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you deeply. Check out the videos on the screen chosen just for you. And you will also see that there is a button that you can click so that you can check out our 2-day event in the middle of November, so that you can activate, align, and anchor your foundational assumptions. That no matter what it is, an SP, more money, different body, doesn't matter. Once your assumptions are activated, aligned, and anchored, it doesn't matter what topic you put in there, you're going to get your results. They're instant, and then they're over time, a time now that you designate. Until I see you again, happy manifesting and enjoy.